Hello, everyone, and good afternoon and good morning from wherever you are joining us from today, and welcome to another Microsoft Reactor livestream event. Today, we're going to learn how to unlock potential with Copilot and Power Platform and Dynamics 365. For those who don't know me, my name is Nadia. I'm the Reactor Program and Event Manager here in Sydney. And today I'll be joined by two speakers, Rishona Elijah, who is a Microsoft MVP for Business Applications, a Microsoft Certified Trainer, and a trainer at Barhead Solutions, who will also be joined by Lisa Crosby. Lisa is a Microsoft MVP for Business Applications, a Technology Evangelist at Barhead Solutions, and she's also known for her expertise in low-code technology, Power Platform, and Dynamics 365. But before we kick off today's section, I want to draw your attention to the Reactor Code of Conduct. In short, we want to ensure that this event is enjoyable for all, so please ensure that all comments are constructive and welcome to all attendees. And please do send us your questions throughout the session, and we will answer as many as we can through the chat. Additional links will be provided, including our survey, so if you do have time to fill that out, that'll be greatly appreciated. And yes, today's session will be recorded, and you can find it on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel, and I'll also add the link to the meetup page. But now it's time to hand the floor over to our incredible speakers, so thank you for joining us, and over to Lisa and Rishona.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Good afternoon, everyone. That's my time zone right now, but if you are watching this on a recording, as Nadia said, this session will be recorded, so welcome. Rishona and I today are going to talk to you about the potential with Copilot in Power Platform and Dynamics 365. Copilot has been like word of the moment for pretty much most of this year, and we are running this session. If you're not watching it live, it's towards the end of August 2023. If you're watching this on recording, maybe even a week from now, there might be something new that's come because this is moving at an absolute pace. So we're really excited today to be able to give you a bit of an update and help deconstruct what's going on with all of that. Nadia's also done a great introduction to us. I'm Lisa Crosby. Rishona, did you want to say hi here before we
Hi everyone.
Yeah,
I think Nadia kind of said it all. But just to back on your point, Lisa, about how this stuff is changing really fast. This morning when I went into Power Apps, there are a bunch of new buttons there for Copilot. So excited to show that today as well.
Honestly, I actually was looking last night in my very bad habit of checking social media for work after hours, and it was like, oh, here's the announcement of the model-driven apps Copilot, and I've like on my list of things I must get to today. So it is a very exciting time, certainly, to be working in this space with business applications and seeing everything that's going on. So this is what we've got for you today. We will run for about an hour. We do have sort of questions and answers running along the side there. What we're going to start with here is just like, what is Copilot? Because our focus is going to be Copilot in business applications, but Copilot is even bigger than business applications. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a what is Copilot to help you get across that. And then we're going to focus in on these areas that are the sort of highlights so far, and there is more than this, but the highlights so far of what we're seeing coming through in the Dynamics 365 customer engagement side of the stack, sales, the product soon to be not known as marketing anymore, becoming customer insights, customer service, and then those pieces in Power Platform as well. Copilot also exists in other parts of the stack, including the ERP things, but this is where we're seeing sort of the most things that we can show you today, but it's certainly an interesting area to watch. So as a starting point here, sort of what is Copilot? It's essentially a brand name. If you want to think of it like that, it's not a particular single product. It's the name that Microsoft is using to represent the concept of bringing generative AI into where you work. So if you've been following this at all throughout the year, you might have come across the term generative AI. Honestly, that's something that never came out of my mouth at all until about February this year for the first time. The idea of AI being able to generate content for you. And so a lot of the things that we're seeing coming through in the business application stack are around generating either content for the user, so summarizing things or being able to suggest next actions, those kinds of things, as well as content generation for a maker. And especially when we look at the Power App side of things and the Power Platform side of things that Rishona is going to take us through later, there's a lot of maker experiences in there as well. So we're shifting from low code to no code with this. We're just like describing things in natural language. And the most important thing about Copilot, this screen sort of shows you an illustration of the concept of Microsoft 365 Copilot. And we are going to talk mostly about in fact, exclusively about the business applications Copilots here. But the concept still stands, because the other thing that happens is when you use services like ChatGPT, if you go out to large language models on the internet, you're taking your business data and putting it out into the world. It's not secure, you're just putting it out into the world. The big thing with Microsoft Copilot, all of these Copilot experiences, is that it is bringing that capability, that underlying AI-based large language model capability into your world, into your business context, into your tenant, so that you are working with it securely and you are working with it in context. So as we look through these things today, they are things that are working alongside you securely. You're not taking, especially when we look at some of the sales things, you're not taking confidential client data or business data and putting it out into the world, which is what can happen if you're using ChatGPT. So Microsoft 365 Copilot, which we're not covering specifically today, is another whole suite of Copilot products that brings similar types of experience to generate content and help you with things into those Microsoft 365 applications, PowerPoint, Word, all of those things. There is some overlap here as well. But what we're going to be focusing on here today is these pieces that fit within the business application stack. So as I said at the start, Copilot is like a branded name for Microsoft bringing this experience of generative AI into the tools you use every day. It exists inside those Microsoft 365 applications. Doesn't quite exist for us in Australia yet. It's in private preview in the US, but it's coming. It also exists in other areas. In fact, GitHub Copilot was the OG of Copilots. It helps you with writing code. We've also got a security Copilot that helps you defend against threats and so on. And so today what we're going to look at here is how this applies to the business application stack. I'm going to take you through some demonstrations and previews of what's to come with the Dynamics 365 Copilot in the customer engagement applications. And then Rishona is going to take us through the Copilot for Power Platform and what's available there. Core principles of this. I'm going to start from the bottom up here because that's sort of what I've been talking about: security, compliance, privacy. The core thing here, and the most important thing to understand as we start to use these tools, is that it's sitting securely in your tenant, securely in your environment, rather than, as I said, putting that business data out into the world. Next one up. It is transparent, and we'll see with some of the examples that we come through as we go through this, that it gives you references. It gives you like a little source and a link to where it's coming from, which is really important. If you've used ChatGPT or any of those services, they're inclined to hallucinate, right? They don't say, oh, I don't know the answer to that. You put something out and ask it a question, it will just make stuff up. It's kind of hilarious and dangerous. Core thing here is that this is working with a very transparent way of working. So as it generates content for you, it gives you, it's like a little footnote in there that shows you where it comes from. So it makes it much easier for you to check that it is in fact drawing on reliable source information and not just hallucinating. And importantly, right at the top here, you are in control. This is called Copilot, not autopilot. It's not just doing stuff for you without your knowledge or your permission. You are always in control. So as you use these tools that we're showing, you'll notice that every single time there is a button that says copy, edit, use, those kinds of things. So if you ask it to generate an email for you, it doesn't generate and send the email. It generates the draft for you, and then you're in charge of saying, yep, I'm going to copy that content and edit it, or no thanks, Copilot, that's not really serving me very well. And so the idea here is that this is designed to get over the hump of that blank page. Does anyone like starting with a blank page, or those productivity things that you have to do all the time, so that you spend more time on the work that is creative and productive? If you don't have to start with the first draft of your email, if you don't have to start with the first draft of something in a sales scenario, if you don't have to start preparing for your meeting by reading over every note you've ever done, that the system can summarize things for you, then you're actually able to work with, not a blank starting point. And then as we look at the Power Platform stuff in particular, the experiences there of the Maker Copilot is, as I said, moving from low code to no code, which means even more people can do these things. So that idea of democratizing technology, where we used to have to be able to write code to build applications or chatbots, and now we can do it with expression language and drag and drop experiences. The next frontier here is that we do it with natural language. So we actually up-level people's skills by democratizing access to that technology even further than we have in the past. All right, so let's take a look at what this is about and go through, starting off here with Dynamics 365 Sales.
Before we get into it, Lisa, we have a question here around licensing. Is Copilot in yeah. It was going to come eventually. Is Copilot in Dynamics 365 a separate SKU or included with existing licenses?
So as far as, there are many different Dynamics 365 Copilot experiences. Some of them are in preview and haven't been. So what happens with Microsoft with the announcement of licensing is that, generally speaking, they will announce the licensing at the same time as general availability. So in answer to the one we're about to talk about, Dynamics 365 Sales Copilot, that is generally available, and yes, it is included. It's included in your Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise license. It's also included in your Dynamics 365 Premium license. So it's one of those things that, depending on where we're up to in the stack, then you will have a different experience of the licensing. But generally speaking, the Dynamics 365 stuff is included in those premium licenses, which is a bit different from how the Microsoft 365 stuff is licensed.
All right. Also, as we go along, we'll probably just point out which features are currently available to you and which ones are also coming soon, and if they're in Australia or whatever region it is at the moment. All right, so the stuff with Dynamics 365 Sales, I have to say I've been relying on this quite heavily recently. I think out of all the features we are showing today, this one is going to be my favorite one. There's some really cool stuff going on here. So big one is that we have this Sales Copilot add-in that you can get for Outlook. So as you're working in Outlook, whether that's desktop or web, you have this Copilot pane sitting there to help you do things like summarize email threads for you. It links to Dynamic Sales, of course, too. So if you've got contacts, you can quickly, or someone emails you haven't met before, it'll ask you if you want to add them in as a contact, and you can easily go and do that. So it's a direct connection between your Dynamics 365, but sitting exactly in Outlook. And you can even use it to compose replies for yourself. And like Lisa said, you have the ability to, after you compose a reply using Copilot, to then copy it over, make whatever edits you want. So you can really make it your own. Apart from that, we have Copilot in Teams, which is in your Teams meetings. So you can have it there to do things like review whatever notes you need from the meeting, or what are the key talking points that came out of that, follow-up points after that meeting, and it can detect sentiment during the call. And the last bit that we have here is that there's the Copilot that sits within Dynamics 365. So as you're using Dynamics, you also have a pane there, and you can get it to do things for you, like find me news about this particular account that I'm working on, or summarize an opportunity. So Lisa, I might hand it to you now to show us all of this in action.
Excellent. Now I've got a little glitch. Oh, there we go. No, we're all good. One of my screens has decided that it doesn't want to cooperate. It's a day here, folks. For some background information. That's the third thing now. The demo gods were not with me on one of these things. We've got workmen drilling in the building, and now one of my screens has just decided that it's done. Anyway, the screen that I'm sharing is working, so we're okay. So nothing like a live stream, hey? So what we've got here is an example of Sales Copilot, and the Sales Copilot experience exists in Outlook, and it also exists in Dynamics 365. Now, the piece here that I'm showing in Outlook actually works with Salesforce as well. So if you're using the other CRM system, if you're a Salesforce user, you can actually buy this as a standalone license and use it there. But to the question earlier about the licensing, if you are using Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise or Premium, then this is included. And honestly, as I'm talking to people, this is one of the best value adds I've seen in that license. It's amazing because it's just there and you can start using it. So what we've got down the side here is the Sales Copilot panel. I'm working here in Outlook on the web, but if you're working on Outlook on the desktop, it's exactly the same experience. So there's a couple of different things going on on here. I'm going to switch across and have a look at this one first, because one of the things that salespeople always have trouble with, always have challenge with, is data entry. No one actually wants to do the data entry of what's going on here. So this is an example of, say, a new customer who has emailed in, "Hi, I've been referred to your company," and you'll see straight away that what happens here is this recognizes that this person is not already in my CRM system. So this is going to be a whole lot easier than normal. Watch what happens here. I'm going to press, I talk a lot here, but I'm going to press one button, add contact. Now, Peter Bowers, General Manager. See, it's taken all the information from the signature, the phone, the business phone. I haven't actually got the address in there. This panel can actually also be configured to bring in the things that you as an organization care about and custom things. So I do a lot of work with nonprofit customers, for instance. One of the core things is to be able to see lifetime donation amounts. So you might want to see the total value of an account in a sales scenario, and you can bring those things in there. So as I said, a lot of talk. I've only clicked once so far, second time, save, and that has now saved that person's details inside my Dynamics system. Where it gets really interesting, though, is this part here. Oh, look, I did say there were 3 things that had gone wrong.
I think you jinxed it by mentioning it.
I don't know if the drilling, it's going to affect my internet connection here as well. There we go. We're all good. So what we've got here is a customer that already exists. And this is one where we've got a lot more depth. So this is one where we've got a back and forth email where I've sort of, written to this person and they've come back again. But actually, we've got depth of information. So the first one there is just sort of summarizing the email. But if we go down further, we also have an opportunity summary, because this is now connected to my CRM system. So it's able to do an opportunity summary as well as an email summary. So this is the opportunity in question in my dynamic sales system here. And you'll see I've got a bunch of things in here. For instance, I've got the customer need, I've got the proposed solution, I've got a meeting coming up. Watch out for that one. We're going to come back to that one. There's a whole lot of other things in the timeline here. So I've got appointments, there's an email, there's a note. So I've got notes and things. So I've had a long-term sort of sales cycle with this, in that sort of relationship selling that I'm going along and developing out this opportunity. So what happens here is that inside the context of receiving this email, this is just so good. I've got the summary of the email. So the first thing I could do here is click Save Summary and then save it, and that's now going to go into that timeline of that opportunity. So again, 2 clicks. Instead of tracking every email, you can actually do that. Or instead of having to write the summary, which nobody does, now I've got that in there. I can reply to this. So this is where we're doing this draft experience. Let's reply to this inquiry, and we've got this information in here. And it will actually pull out some things. And again, look at these little footnotes, right? So this is bringing out what it's thinking when it's making up. It's not actually thinking what it's doing in bringing out those things. So you've got those references that are in there. And again, this idea of it doesn't send the email for me. I can copy, reply, use that, edit it, all of those kinds of things. And you can do things that are similar to ChatGPT it's basically the same thing underneath. Please make it a more casual tone. Please refer to this, refer to that, all of those kinds of things. Summary of the opportunity here. So now I've got these things. And again, here's the reference. This is referencing a note that I made. This one is referencing a note that I made, and so on there as well. And so all of those things are there in the system. I've got other information. So I've got the information about the person that's in there. We've got the information about that opportunity. And again, we can choose to make that editable if we want to. Information about the account. And again, I can flesh that out and make that editable too. So you're bringing suddenly now a lot of your CRM information inside Outlook, which is very much the direction of where we're headed with all of these kinds of things. And last but not least, collaborate in teams. So we've also got the opportunity here to set up an account team or set up a deal room. So if I wanted to set up a deal room, what that's going to do is use a template. Let's see, I'll live dangerously here and create a new team and see if it will actually do this while I'm talking. What this will do is actually set up something that is a team that has a structure to it. So it's using a Teams template. So if you choose the opportunity one, it's going to set up a notes tab. It's going to pin that record inside Teams. It's going to add any people inside Teams. It's going to put a document folder structure and so on in there. We will open it in Teams. It usually takes a minute or so to be able to get into that. So we'll just wait for that to log in. We've got a Teams here. No, there we go. Look, I'm sorry. The demo gods are just not with me at all today. The Teams comes up in the right spot. It doesn't want to do that. So what that does is creates that whole thing there inside Teams. The other thing that we get with the Sales Copilot here is an experience that actually sits inside Dynamics 365. So you get a similar concept of being able to summarize an opportunity or prepare for a meeting. So if you've got a meeting coming up, which we've got sitting here, what it will do is have a look at all of those notes and things and give you that kind of meeting summary. So I've got this Copilot on the side here, and it's giving me, I've done this earlier, here are some points to consider for your final meeting. And so it's actually going through all of those notes and all of those things there and preparing. So that's the sort of highlights of that. It's probably enough on the Sales Copilot. This is the one that's kind of been around for the longest and is the most established, but it's really helping you with like bring your CRM data into Outlook, as well as summarize opportunities, prepare you for meetings. You can also do things like summarize accounts and so on in there as well. So let's take a look at the Marketing Copilot, which, Rishona, I might need to get you to share your screen if you can, because I've lost my screen here.
Oh, yep.
Or no Nadia, sorry. Yeah. Hang
let
on,
me
let me
bring
see.
it over.
Actually,
also, the bit you couldn't show about Teams, I know you've got a YouTube video on that.
Yeah.
On Copilot, where you go a bit more into it. Let me switch over here. All right, so we've got a bit of a name change we need to all get familiar with now when it comes to marketing. So Dynamics 365 Marketing from September, it's merging together with Customer Insights, and it's going to be called a offering together known as D365 Customer Insights. That's why here in the title I've called it Customer Insights instead, but we're looking at the marketing features here. There is also AR Copilot functionality that is coming and will be there for Customer Insights as well. So when it comes to marketing, here are the Copilot features that we have. Query Assist. So this is where you are, sorry, let me bring up something here. All right, so with Query Assist, this one is where you can use it for creating your segments. So you know when you are going through, you need to go and pick all the fields, go through a massive list of the fields that you have in the system to find the ones that you want to select to create your segments. So if you're someone who's not really familiar with the whole background of it, not used to looking at what the backend data looks like, then this can usually be really difficult to sort through all of those things to pick the right fields that you need. So Query Assist is there to make that process a lot easier for someone who doesn't have that sort of knowledge. We can use this as well to generate content ideas for our emails. So rather than you needing to spend time brainstorming what you want to create an email for, going through the process of creating the content for it, just with the click of a button, you can use it to generate ideas for your email. You can edit the content from there too, saving you and your team really hours of time that it would take to traditionally go through and create this stuff from scratch. I've got a screenshot here of the one around styling emails. So this is a coming soon feature, by the way, for styling emails, where you can tell the Copilot, like, I want to change the theme, make it these colors, make it our brand colors. And the other one that we've got here is on creating customer journeys. So creating a journey, you can now do this in minutes with Copilot. You can just simply describe what you would want in your journey, and then Copilot will build that out for you. So Lisa, are you able to show the demo from your end? Yep.
Yeah, I don't. So we'll see. Let's see what happens.
Otherwise, I think I can bring it up on mine, right?
Yeah. Let's stick with what's working.
Because I think you don't got your screen here.
No, that's right. If you just press play on that and I can talk to it, yeah, it's going to be better. Yeah, so this one is coming in September. So this is a video rather than a live demo, but this idea of being able to generate marketing content, there are some suggestions there, similar experience. So as we go through all of these, you'll see that they come up in the same way. So we can put in, here is what we want the content to be about. Here are some key things. What kind of tone of voice do we want to have with that? So you'll see casual. I'd love to see an adventurous tone of voice for a marketing campaign, and it generates ideas. Again, this is in your context. So as we're starting to look at marketing, it's going to, over time, understand the campaigns and the things that you've done that have been successful for your business. Same concept here. You've got suggestions and you're going to choose which one you want to use. So you'll see the button in there for the sort of add to my draft rather than it just sort of doing it for you. So it's bringing all of those things in there. Question there, can it conform to a particular corporate style guide tone of voice? At this stage, you're just getting those options that you're choosing. You can certainly describing the tone you want. I think in time we will start to see that type of thing, but from what I've seen of what's coming in the first release of this, it's not quite at that level of detail yet. All right, I think that's it for that one, Rishona. So then the other part of this is being able to, I talked before about democratizing access to building things, but this one is really exciting because this is now about democratizing access to finding data. One of the things that most users have trouble doing is navigating a data model to find their data. So that ability now to be able to create segments in natural language, create queries in natural language is something that I think opens up a heap of possibilities. So we're seeing this in, this is in the marketing application, the real-time marketing application. We're also seeing it in the customer insights application to be able to help you really make it more people to create richer segments.
Okay, so that's it for marketing. The last part around dynamics that we have is seeing it in customer service now. So Copilot in customer service, it's bringing real-time assistance to your agents. It can do things like help them resolve issue faster. It can automate time-consuming tasks for them. So your agents then, they could be focusing on the things that matter, which is going to be delivering high-quality service to your customers. So let's take this through what we've got here. Lisa, do you want to explain what this demo is?
Yeah, so there are about 4 things coming through in customer service. This stuff is in preview at the moment. For those in Australia, this one I think is only available in the US environments. I haven't got this in an Australian environment yet, but this one should be coming through soon. So the first thing is being able to ask a question. So the context here, if you're working in a service scenario and you might need to ask someone, typically you would ask a colleague or ask a supervisor, how much do we charge for this? Or have we, how do we resolve this kind of thing? This is actually working. So where the Sales Copilot is working in the context of your CRM and opportunities and appointments and notes, this one is working with your case histories and knowledge base. Your knowledge base can also be an external website that if you've got a website with FAQs, you can link that up, or it can be the knowledge management inside here. So this is basically now a virtual assistant that's helping you find information. And in terms of a service agent experience, the ability to resolve cases more quickly without having to go and manually find things and search for things is going to be a really good productivity uplift. So that's the first example here of the ask a question. The second one is very similar to what we saw in the other experience here of being able to draft an email. So all of those same things I was showing earlier, where it can sort of give you a suggested response in that Copilot experience, but this time it's skewed more towards those service type use cases rather than the sales type use cases. Similarly, if you've got the omni-channel experience here of wanting to draft a chat response, so you'll see down the left-hand side here, we've got an ongoing sort of chat back and forth between the customer and the agent. And similarly to drafting a response to an email, this can give you a suggested response. So the person has asked a question, the customer's asked a question, and it's going through all of that knowledge base and case histories and resolved cases to be able to find what those things are. And the little blue arrow at the bottom there also saying check sources. So that same experience of being able to see what's going on with the little footnotes and so on. And then finally, in the customer service side of things, we have got this ability to have a case summary. So this case doesn't have very much in it. This is a genuine one that I could get working, but there's not much substance in it. So see in the middle of the screen there, we've got the case summary. So whatever is in the description, and again, if I had that richer history of correspondence back and forth, it's able to give you that case summary, and it can also do a summary summary of a conversation as well going on in there. So lots of things going on in that customer service app that are giving you access to kind of summarizing what's going on and generating responses, which are the two big use cases we're seeing in the Dynamics customer engagement apps. All right, so I think that's it for our customer service side of things. So we'll switch gears now into the Power Platform side of things. As I said at the start, there are two, as we look through the Power Platform things, there are two types of experiences that are coming through with Copilot. One of them is around a sort of an experience for the user, similar to what we've just seen. But as we lean in here to the Power Platform things, this is really about having tools for makers using natural language to create things. So Rishona is going to take us through these things here. So the first two are those maker experiences. So being able to create an app by describing what you want. I would like an app that will, track my event registrations or whatever that is, and it will build a table and an app over the top of it, as well as then being able to edit your app and then having a control that allows you to ask questions of your data. How many human languages does Copilot support? I'm going to check that one on the side while Rishona shows us this. I think most of this in the first preview release is in English, but they will add language support in future. But let me check the right answer to that. So Rishona, take it away, and I'll double check the answer on that
Funny
one.
when you were saying that. You gave an example of using it to create an app to track event registrations. I was good.
Is that what you've done?
Example of my demo. Yeah,
almost like we completely planned it.
We could read each other's minds. All of this Power Platform stuff that we'll take you through today, by the way, they're only available in US environments at the moment. So that doesn't mean it won't stop you from using it, by the way. You can sign up for a US environment. One of the links we'll share at the end will be how you can create a free developer environment. And when you set that up, you just need to set your region as United States. Then you get all the features that I'm taking you through here with Copilot in the Power Platform. So when you are in your United States environment, you'll notice that the home screen will look something like this. I'm at Power Apps here. We've got this box asking us what type of app do we want to build. We can just describe what we are after and put it in here. So here I'm saying I want to create an app to track events and giving it a bit more detail around that. I want the events to have a name, type of event, start and end time, list of attendees. You can go a bit further and explain it a bit more if you want and be more specific, but let's say that's good enough for now. So what this will do is the first step, it will go ahead and create a Dataverse table for us based on what type of app we want to build. So it will take what we've explained, even if I didn't list out things like I want the type of event or start and end time, it will see that, oh yeah, you want something based on events. These are the typical columns that you'll need, and it will create it for us. So what it's done here, it's created this Dataverse table. Actually, it hasn't been created yet because we still have the opportunity to edit it. So you can see that it's brought through these different columns. The columns all have a relevant data type. So we can see here for start time, it's set that up as a date type. And you can make any edits that you need as well. You can make edits simply by doing it manually, or Copilot is here to help too. So what you'll notice is that I said that I wanted to also track who the attendees are, but typically attendees, that would be a relational data model that you need to create. You would have another table to store that. So with this feature at the moment, it can only create one table. That's why you can see that it actually just added attendees and it sort of listed people's name there. So it only works for one table at this time. But what you can do is if I don't want that, I can just say remove attendees column. It also generated some sample data for us. Another thing we could tell it to do is to refresh the data or bring in new data. And it got rid of it for us. Once we're happy with the table it's created, we can go ahead and click Create App. This may take about a minute or so to come together, so I did it beforehand, so we don't need to wait. But the end result of it is that it will take your data the table that it's created, and it will populate it into this app template ready to use. So it's not like you need to go and configure all these galleries and components on your screen. It's already connected here. We can preview it. We can go to the other records to browse through them, create new records and events.
This is a party. This is a party.
Yes. This is actually with the example I tried before. So I was like, okay, the description it gave of the event, I'm not too sure about that. But at least with this, we have the flexibility to go and edit it if we want to. Let's see if this one turned out any better. The one that I tried just now. This one doesn't look like it wants to give us the description of it. But either way, you can edit it. So if you wanted to go and, change the labels that's displayed here, you can go and do that. So it might say, forget what the thing was called, this item.name. we get it though. I won't go through.
We are so good with our live demos today.
We'll just move on here. We'll stick with this one.
Just proving that this is genuinely live.
So like I was saying, this is ready to use. It's responsive as well. So you know how typically when you go and you build a Canvas app, you need to go and do some additional things if you want it to scale well on a mobile, on your whatever screen you're looking at it on. This one, it will automatically be set up with those containers that you need for it to be responsive to your screen size. And something I found this morning, which I knew was a feature that was going to be coming soon, is the Copilot sitting within the app editor itself. And it's this button at the top here. So you can see I tried to test it out earlier. I was asking it to turn all the text in my labels on the app green. It didn't seem to like that one. It didn't work. So I think at this point we need to put in a bit more simpler prompts that it can handle at the moment, like it's suggesting here. So if I want it to go and add a screen, let's say add a screen. Now let's see how it does that. But the idea of this Copilot pane that you see within the app now is that you will be able to do things like tell it to add a screen for you, change the text size of all the labels on my app. And then also there'll be a part that we'll use this for creating our formulas. So if you're familiar with the ideas feature that's in Canvas apps at the moment, it's similar to that, where it will generate formulas for you for Power Effects. You'll be able to do that directly from Copilot and then easily apply that to your components as well. So hopefully no more needing to remember formulas every time you need to try and get your app to do something. Let's look at this screen that it's added in, because the last thing I wanted to show us with Power Apps is that there is a Copilot component that you can add within your apps. It's a bit like having your own ChatGPT, looking at your own data. I might just close this so we got more space here. Over in the Insert tab, you can look for Copilot. But this puts this chatbot within your app, and you connect it to a data source. So that means your users of the app will be able to talk to this bot within your app and get their answers to whatever questions they have. So if I just go ahead and preview this, rather than needing to go through all the data myself, I can ask something like, how many events are there? And there we go. It told us we have 5 events. So it will really save you time from needing to go and manually browse through the data yourself. You can just ask these quick things and get the responses. Even last night, I saw a blog post by Microsoft that they now also brought this to your model-driven app. So I haven't got a demo of that one up and running, but similar to what we've got here, you can have this pane sitting in your model-driven app. Same thing, people can go and ask questions to it, looking at the data that you have in the model-driven app too. So it's not only just for Canvas at this point.
And that same idea I was talking about earlier with dynamics of, making it easier for people to find stuff in their data. This is this same principle of being able to query things rather than having to learn how to navigate a query, as you can just ask. You can ask it to find the data. And I used to spend years and years in my job trying to educate people on how to do queries, and most users most of the time just will never get Boolean logic. So for me, this is just such a huge advance in how this tech can be used.
And I just realized I had put in a screenshot off the new.
There it is. Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Model-driven apps.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So now we've got Copilot that can help us with building web pages. This one is probably less advanced, I think, than the Power Apps and some of the other ones. This one's a newer kid on the block. But the idea here is that Power Pages allows you to create your own business website. So we've got these experiences with natural language that allow you to create those websites by describing them, and it will find relevant templates and styles and things for you, creating the forms that go on those sites, which is how we're interacting with your data. And then similar to what we've just seen with this contextual chatbot of being able to sort of have something on the side. This one's a bit different because this is like asking for help in, like, please help me with what I'm doing here. So what do you got to show us here, Rishona?
All right, so we'll jump over into Power Pages. Let me just bring it up here. So I'm just in Power Pages at the moment. I've got my Power Page open. This is one of the templates that's there that you can use for getting people to submit permit applications. So I thought I'd use this as my example of what Copilot can do with the content or creating the content for you. So we have Copilot at the side here like we did in Power Apps, but we also have in context Copilot. So that means that if I'm adding in something like a paragraph of text, I can use the Copilot button to help me go ahead and generate that. So let's see if we can get it to rewrite some text for us here. I've got this heading. It just says permit application. So if I click into that, you can see we've got this Copilot button. So maybe I might tell it to just rewrite this. Or we could have the option to make it shorter, if it was a bigger paragraph, or expand it, change the tone. I'm just looking, I like these options here. I think we've got more than what we had in the sales one, don't we?
Yeah.
Let's just hit rewrite in this case. So let's see what it comes up with. Applying for a permit. So, that's a pretty simple one, but if we're happy with it, we can go ahead, make any additional changes we want, or if we like it, we can replace the text. You can also use it if you don't even have any text created in the first place to generate these ideas for you and create it just by describing what you want. So it's like a built-in ChatGPT. So let's say I want to add in a paragraph here. So I can say, let's add in some new text. Click that Copilot button. And we'll just describe what we want to write about. So you can be more descriptive in yours. I'll just say one thing here. Write about how people can go about submitting a permit application. Of course, the more that you give it, the more accurate you're going to get your results to be. But we'll see what it comes up with that simple prompt. And you can see it's gone ahead and it's created for us all of these steps that we can easily go and add in. If anything, it's at least a good starting point for you because like Lisa was saying with the other demos, that it's better than starting off with a blank screen. You have this to begin with, and then you can make your changes from there.
So we've got another question in the chat here. Is there information on what biases these natural language models have that might emerge when summarizing or generating text? Yep, there's schools of research out there. Can't summarize it here for you. These language models are potentially biased. They've been trained for, this stuff has sort of come out of the woodwork very quickly this year, but there's decades of work that's gone into getting to this point. And I think, as we all recognize, different biases in the world than maybe what we accept as something now. So yes, there's a world of research out there, and this is essentially bringing those models in here. This is not a different model, so anything that you sort of look at in how those large language models work. I will say though that the way that Microsoft works with this stuff around handling that is as good as I've seen. Bringing it into your context also skews that a little bit, because you're not out there saying, write me 10 jokes about something. You are saying, help me construct business content in a business context. So I think the bias is less of an issue here than when you're doing something generic.
All right, so that's with Copilot here. We'll try to do something with the pane down the side. So I showed you the in-context ones, but this is where you can just tell it to do things like create a page for me. So here I've put in a prompt to say, create a page about applying for a permit for a residential project. So you can even go ahead, and I'll just get that to run because it might take a moment to generate. It will do things such as create a page that looks like this, where it's added in pictures. You can go through stock images as well and swap those out. If you don't like it, you can tell it to change things for you. It will put together some paragraphs for your page. So we'll check back on that in a moment. In the meantime, while that's getting ready, I'll show us the other features, such as how we can use it to create forms and contextual chatbots. So the contextual chatbot is where you can just turn on a switch that will allow you to have a chatbot that's ready to go on your Power page. So that means that you can have a bot sitting here. Visitors to the page can go and talk to it, and it will already be pulling through information that you have on this Power page, rather than the traditional way of you needing to go and create a topic for everything yourself. The chatbot will automatically know these things. I'll jump over to the chatbot first, then I'll come back to this one. So with the chatbot, if you head over into the setup area, which I've already done in this case, there's just a toggle here for chatbot preview. You can switch that on. So in a moment, there'll be, which I've already done here, there's a chatbot setup. You can click on that for it to take it to you. And then within a few clicks, you can have that on your site and up and running for customers or any of the visitors to go and talk to and ask questions. All right, the page that was generated with Copilot. So it told us that it finished making the page, so we can see that appear here, the residential permit. So with that brief bit of info that I gave it, it's come up with some stuff here that I can get started with. So once again, a good starting point rather than creating it all from blank yourself. You can use this template, swap out the images if you want, change the text. And finally, using it to create forms. So for this, I've just got a video recorded here of it. So this, once again, is that in context Copilot. So you know with forms in Power Pages, how you need to make sure you've got that Dataverse table set up. And then there are probably changes you need to make to that Dataverse table to get it right in the right format and structure for you to embed it or to have it available here as a form in your Power Page. So Copilot will do all that work for you. As you go and you add in a form component into your Power Page, it will ask you what type of form do you want to create, what do you want it to do, and then it will generate the fields for you, create that form, and you can add it straight away into your page. All right, and that's it for Power Pages.
So Copilot in Power Virtual Agents is all around this idea of generative answers. And there are two things that are going on here. This is about being able to use your existing website content to create topics and also to be able to link to other kinds of knowledge sources to generate answers. So Power Virtual Agents allows you to create chatbots with a nice drag and drop. But what we're seeing here is that you can essentially connect that into something that's already there and it will just do that thing for you. Oh, there we go. The lights are going off. That's 5 now. So it will do that thing for you of being able to just connect to those existing data sources and not have to even build the bot. So let's have a look at that one, Rishona, while I
Yeah,
move
this
around
is
in
my
the room here
favorite.
until the
I
lights
think
on.
out of all the Power Platform stuff, this one's my favorite, the generative answers for PBA. We'll show you that one first, and then we'll do the creating a topic one. All right, so generative answers. When you create your bot, in the settings area, we have this place for the AI capability. So by the way, this is where you can take a browse to see what's currently available. And they've also listed some upcoming AI capabilities here. So if you scroll further down, you'll see things like the ability to upload a document and then use that as a basis for your topics too. Being able to generate answers and take action from other data sources as well. So the generative answers, all you need to do for this to work is you can grab a link to a website. The idea of this is that you point it to a website. This, by the way, can even be something like your internal sites. OneDrive, your SharePoint, you can grab a link to it and add it in the list here to the websites you want your bot to be able to pull answers from. So rather than you needing to go and create a topic for everything, let's say someone asks a question that the bot hasn't been set up to know. If it doesn't know and it can't see it created there as a topic, it will search these websites or that SharePoint site that you've listed and be able to pull out the result from it. So this bot that I'm showing you now, I haven't added any topics to it. All I've done is I've put down a couple of websites. So I've got Barhead, which is where Lisa and I work, and also Microsoft Learn. So in my example here, I asked the bot, what is a Power App? And you can see that it was able to go and query Microsoft Learn and then produce a result for that. I even asked, what is a business process flow used for? Once again, it's gone to Microsoft Learn to go and find that information and summarize it for us here. So this is really powerful because it really opens up the door on what your bots can handle. That means you can just simply connect to a site and you can get people using it straight away rather than needing to go and make sure you've got all the topics set up properly first. A common use case for this might be you might want to have a bot that points to your company's job portal where people can go and search for jobs. So that's another example where I've seen this being used. There is also, you can say how it generates the answers too. So there's just some settings around like how relevant do you want the responses to be? How accurate do you need them to be? And then we have creating your topics with Copilot. So let's jump over into the topics area. To create a new topic, either we can create it the traditional way of going through and creating all those nodes and mapping it out, or this is similar stuff to what we see with Power Apps and also the Power Automate stuff that I'll show us next, is the idea of simply describing the topic that we want. So for this example, I thought I'd use one of a support request. So we can name our topic, call that support request, and then describe what we want the topic to do. So here I'll just say, create a support ticket, include or get answers such as what is the title, the severity of it, and ask about what the person's email address is to create that. So in a moment, we'll see that we have this topic built out. We've got nodes with those questions there. Things it can't do at the moment is create Power Automate flows for you. So if you wanted to go and get it to also call a system and do that, it can't do that, but it can create the main part of your conversation at least. The other thing I like about this is how it's great for your trigger phrases. So I know a lot of the time I'm thinking, what will people say for my trigger phrases? Whereas this can go ahead and generate that for you to give you some ideas of what people might ask for that topic. So I'll scroll through here so you can take a look at what we've got. Zoom in a bit as well. Any changes, we can make that within the Copilot that's here too. So let's say I don't really like this question. I can click on that and maybe I want to make some changes to it. So let's say I want to ask this question differently. You can click update. And you'll see it will make an update to this particular node that we've selected and give us some more options on how we might want to phrase that. All right, and we've got 5 minutes left, so we might jump over to the last one now on Power Automate.
I'm just going to let you get straight into the demo. I think we've got the concepts here. This is describe it to build it. Away we go.
All right. So the two things we have for Power Automate. Describe it to design it, and then the GPT stuff, which I'll talk about after. So let's jump into describe it to design it, which is quite similar to what we've seen already here. All right, so Power Automate, once again, we've got our US environments. We can start building our flow with Copilot. So we can describe what type of flow we want. We can include things like what are the different systems it's going to connect to, what should it do. So here I've just wrote in, build a flow that's going to let me know when someone responds to a Microsoft form, send me an email based on that, and also send me a Teams message as well. So once we've described that, it will go ahead and pull through the actions that we need. You have the opportunity to get it to redo itself if you're not happy with that. Here, there'll just be some steps to configure it where you can make some connections, such as what is the form that you want to connect it to, and any of those basic settings. So it saves you from needing to go to that full-on flow editor, which can be quite confusing for people. If it's something if it's something simple, then you can simply just make those basic changes from this interface here. But I'll go ahead and click Create Flow, where it will take us to that complete editor to make those further changes that we need.
This is so amazing.
You'll also notice that the design is a bit different. This is the new Power Automate interface.
I like that, actually. It's like a little grid paper.
I do too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easier to see everything rather than like the boxes all in one go. So I'm starting to get used to this look of it now.
It's much more friendly for people who are not technical, I think. Like it looks like a little flowchart on a grid.
It only shows you what you need, which I like.
Yep.
So I won't build out the flow now, but you get the idea that you've got your steps there. You can then go and populate it as you need, or you can even use the Copilot to help you do that. So perhaps I've got this email action. So maybe I'll put in a subject here. And maybe I'll ask Copilot at the side, what does the send an email action do? So we should in a moment get a summary. It will tell us what it does, rather than you needing to go and figure out exactly what are all the settings that are being configured on it. It's just a quick way to see what each action is doing. And just the last one that we've got here, create text with GPT. So this is actually an AI builder thing, which is in private preview at the moment, which means that you need to actually go and sign up to say that you want access to this feature to try it out. So this AI builder feature, it is where you can have things like text, documents. It will be able to summarize that information for you. So you're essentially, it's kind of like ChatGPT creating text, but it brings that into AI Builder, which means that you can use this as a step in your cloud flows or even in your desktop flows, which you can see going on here in that last GIF that we got. All right, so as we've been going along, Nadia has been popping in some links in the chat there. So just to talk through a few of the further resources that we've got. So first of all, there is a link will take you to my blog where I've got some instructions on how you can sign up for a developer environment. So these environments are free. You can sign up for it with your work account. It doesn't expire either. And it gives you your own space where you can practice using these Power Platform tools. And as I said, the Power Platform stuff, it's all in the United States environment. So just make sure when you create it, click United States as your region if you were intending to go and try out all of this Copilot features. We've got some links to Lisa Crosby's YouTube channel. So she's got some great content there on Copilot. Actually, Lisa, anything you want to say about that?
No, that'll do. I've done a fair bit on Copilot, so that pretty much covers it.
And definitely connect with us on LinkedIn too. I'm always happy to connect. We also usually post our upcoming features that are new and releasing. So it's a great way to keep up to date on what's going on, as well as the Microsoft release notes that were recently came out last month. So there you can browse through all of the latest features that will be coming out later this year or early next year. And with that said, I think we're just about finished here. I can't see any more questions in the chat. Nadia, let me know if we did miss any. Otherwise, thank you everyone for coming along today.
All good. No, you've got all the questions done. I've popped all the links in. So yeah, I've also popped the link into our survey. You'll be able to access the recording within the next 24 hours as well. So I just want to say a big thank you to Lisa and Rishona. It was an incredible session and I hope you all enjoyed it. And we will see you all next time. Bye for now.
Thank
Bye.
you.